Spice Droppers? It's Charlie from Ferndale. So I watched this delicious documentary last night and I got so inspired. So let's get cooking. Alright, so one little caveat here. There are obviously a lot of Asian ingredients in General Tso's chicken. Duh. So I'm going to take some liberties and use some substitutions that I think most amateur cooks would have in their kitchen. Now let's get to this chicken. So for this chicken I have 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless thigh. You can use boneless, skinless breast if you want, but I just prefer the flavor of the dark meat in this dish. First thing we're going to do is pat it dry. I have a towel underneath too. Now you can use a knife, but I do prefer to use shears for this. And I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to cut off this excess fat and skin. And once we have most of that off, we can go ahead and cut this into bite-sized pieces. Each thigh should be cut into about 6 to 8 chunks. So now that we have our chunks of chicken and our freshly cleaned area, I'm going to go ahead and take a 1/2 cup each of cornstarch and all-purpose flour. We're going to whisk this together. So once that's nice and mixed up, I'm going to actually take a 1/4 cup of this out. Roughly a 1/4 cup there. And we're going to add that to a different bowl. And this is going to be for our wet mixture. So for that wet mixture, all we do is add a 1/4 cup of water. And I'm not going to add it all at once because I do want to look for the right consistency here. We're looking for roughly the consistency of pancake batter. So that is pretty thick. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of this water in. Not quite all of it. But the general measurement is 1-to-1. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is a dry, wet, dry. We want these super coated. So I like to use the wet mixture to add even more of this dry mixture on top. So we're going to take about half of the chicken here. And we're going to totally coat this. Every nook and cranny. Then I'm going to take these and put them in the wet mixture. And I'm going to go ahead and get all the chicken into that wet mixture at once. So go back in with this other half of the chicken here. Get this covered in the dry mixture. Then we can go ahead and add this to the wet bowl. So that I don't get my hands all wet, I'm just going to toss this around in that wet mixture a little bit. Now this is only going to lightly coat everything. And it's starting to clump up, so I'm going to actually add a little more water there. And now that you got a decent coating on it, we're going to go ahead and take it back out of here. Throw it back into the dry. And this is where it gets messy because I'm not using one hand for each. But again, about half of it. Go back in and separate them if you need to after flipping it a little bit. And now we got a nice thick coating on there, you see? So we're going to go ahead and put these on a wire rack for now. And we're going to go ahead and get all this chicken on the rack and then we can bring it over to our frying station. Over at my frying station, I have my Dutch oven filled with about 2 inches of peanut oil. Feel free to use whatever oil you usually fry with. The 2 inches of oil came out to about 48 ounces total. And we're going to let that get to about 370 degrees, 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Because when we add our chicken here, which is beautifully coated, I might add, it will drop that temperature to right around 350, which is where we want to be for the frying. We want that frying temperature of 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And while we wait for this to heat up, the title of that documentary is The Search for General Tso. It is available on Pluto TV. This is not a paid promotion for either that app or this documentary. So if you check it out or if you've seen it before, drop me a comment, let me know how you liked it. Okay, so we're just at about 375. We're going to go ahead and do 2 batches of this chicken. You do want to spread it out so that they don't clump together in the oil. And these cook super fast. It's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes per batch. And if you feel more comfortable doing 3 batches, feel free. Now I do have a spider here, which after we let those get crispy a little bit, I'm going to move them around with this. We're going to make some room on our tray here so that we have a spot to rest them when they're done. So you're looking for an internal temp of 165 degrees on chicken. We got this beautiful little golden, crispy, starting to brown a little bit on there. So I'm going to take this batch out. Now we go ahead and throw this other batch in. Our oil's still at about 360, so we're good to go. And once this batch is done, we can start making that sauce, which is super easy and super fun. The chicken is done. I turned the heat off the fryer. One last thing I forgot to add. As soon as you take the chicken out, you want to season that with salt while that oil's still wet on there, because that'll help absorb that salt into it. Now for the super easy sauce, and again, I'm taking some liberties with this. I got my wok, don't make fun of it. I know it's old and it's the only one I got. I'm going to throw some cooking oil in there, switch that around so that it coats all of the sides and everything. So once that oil's heated up, I have about a teaspoon each of minced garlic and minced ginger. You can use those little squeeze bottles. This is fresh. I just used a microplane for it. We're going to throw that in. Go ahead and move that around. Go in with some soy sauce, about 3 tablespoons. I got ketchup here. That's about, again, 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna do about 1 tablespoon sriracha, about a tablespoon of honey. Now we need some sesame oil, about a teaspoon of that, and some rice vinegar, about a half teaspoon of that. These are all kind of measurements made up on the fly, so I'll have the recipe in the comments, but this is all kind of by eye. Now I'm gonna add some sugar. I'll do about a 1/4 cup now, save some in case I need to add some later. And I have some chilies here. These are arbol chilies that I cut up. Throw those in with the seeds. Instead of that sugar and honey, you might want to use corn syrup. The ketchup is really for color. There is chili paste you could use, Asian chili paste. That would give it that color too. But you definitely want a lot of sweetness in there. There is a ton of sugar in General Tso's chicken. We're gonna let this cook down until it's a nice thick consistency. I can tell right now I'm gonna need more ketchup. About another tablespoon. So you can see here, it is getting relatively thick. I'm gonna do a little taste test here. Turn the heat down a little bit. That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. I am gonna add a little salt to this. Just a pinch of salt. All right, so you see how quick and easy that was? I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off there. I'm at the nice consistency I like. We're gonna go ahead and dump that chicken right in there, all of it. And just mix that in. Get everything a real nice coating of that sauce. There's plenty to go around. Once we mix this up, we can go ahead and plate it. There's some nice B-roll. All right, so here we go. I got some fresh broccoli on there. I don't like it when it's steamed on there. I got this beautifully coated General Tso's chicken. All right, sorry I don't have any chopsticks. Oh man. That cornstarch in that batter mix makes this so good. It holds up that crunch to the sauce, which obviously that sauce is super thick and super gooey. Oh man. And the chicken is so tender. Spice droppers, this is one of my best ones yet. Peace and love. I'm sweating, but I love you.